Did you know that not all fish are as harmless as they look? Some hide violence behind Disney cute faces. Some hide venom behind the most beautiful colors in the ocean. And one of them hides a poison so powerful that chefs need a government license just to touch it. Because if they get it wrong, dinner doesn't get ruined. People die. Today we're counting down 6 fish that completely fooled us. We'll meet a family pet that turns into an ecological disaster the moment it's set free. A fighter bred for the gambling pit, dressed up as a jewel. And a deep-sea creature so strange that the male of the species literally disappears into the female's body forever. But the last one on this list isn't dangerous because of a bite, a sting, or a fight. It's dangerous because of what happens the moment the wrong person picks up a knife. Let's start with the one that fools people the most. If there's one fish that made the whole world fall in love, it's the clownfish. Bright orange, white stripes, tucked safely inside a swaying sea anemone. This is the fish that turned an entire generation into scuba diving fans, thanks to one very famous cartoon dad. But real clownfish society is nothing like the movie. Every group is ruled by one dominant female, and she is the most aggressive fish in the anemone. She bullies the rest of the group into staying smaller than her. And if a male gets too big or too confident, she'll attack him to keep him in line. And here's the twist biology teachers love. Clownfish are all born male. When the dominant female dies, the largest male in the group doesn't mourn. He changes sex, becomes the new female, and takes over. It's called sequential hermaphroditism, and it means the dad from that movie could biologically have become the mom. Clownfish are also far from defenseless. They coat themselves in a special mucus that tricks the anemone's stinging cells into leaving them alone. Then they'll dart out and nip at anything that gets too close, including human divers who get too curious with their hands. Cute on the outside, ruled by violence and forced sex changes on the inside. But the next one on this list takes harmless pet and turns it into an actual environmental crisis. Almost everyone has owned one. A goldfish in a bowl is about as harmless as a pet can get. Slow, quiet, and famous for a 3-second memory that isn't even true. But release a goldfish into open water, and it stops being cute fast. In the wild, goldfish don't stay small. Freed from a tiny bowl, they can grow to the size of a football and weigh several pounds. In 2021, officials in Burnsville, Minnesota, pulled dozens of these giant goldfish out of a single lake, some over 1.5 feet long, after residents had been secretly dumping their unwanted pets into the water for years. These oversized goldfish tear up plant roots while feeding on the bottom, stir up sediment and trigger algae blooms that can turn a clear lake green in a matter of weeks. Scientists now consider goldfish one of the most under-the-radar invasive species on the planet, already established in lakes and rivers on nearly every continent outside Antarctica. One tiny bowl pet, one moment of "I'll just set it free" and an entire ecosystem pays the price. If a goldfish can do that much damage, imagine what happens when a fish is bred on purpose for aggression, with flowing, silky fins in electric blues, reds, and purples. The betta fish looks like a piece of living art, which is exactly why it's one of the most popular aquarium fish on Earth. But that beauty was never the original point. Betta fish are native to the rice paddies of Thailand, and for centuries villagers there didn't collect them to look at. They collected them to fight. Wild bettas are naturally territorial and will flare their fins and attack any rival male that enters their space. People turned that instinct into a gambling sport, staging matches and betting on the outcome. A tradition so old and so popular that a king of Siam eventually stepped in to regulate and tax it. That fighting bloodline is still inside every betta sold in pet stores today. 2 males placed in the same tank won't just posture. They'll tear each other's fins to shreds, and fights can end with one fish dead. It's exactly why every betta at the store lives alone in its own tiny cup. a fish bred for centuries purely for combat, hiding behind the most peaceful-looking fins in the aquarium world. But the next fish on our list didn't need centuries of breeding to become a threat. All it needed was one open aquarium door, striped like a tiger, fringed with feathery fins that ripple like a lion's mane. The lionfish is one of the most photographed fish on any coral reef. Divers travel across the world just to see one drifting through the water. Every one of those beautiful fins is loaded with venom. Lionfish carry up to 18 needle-sharp spines that deliver a sting powerful enough to cause intense pain, swelling, and breathing difficulty in humans. In the wild reefs of the Indo-Pacific where they belong, that venom is just a normal part of the food chain. The problem is, lionfish don't belong in the Atlantic, and they're there anyway. Marine biologists trace the invasion back to the aquarium trade of the 1980s, when a handful of lionfish were released or escaped into the waters off Florida. With almost no natural predators outside their home range, and females capable of releasing up to 2 million eggs a year, the population exploded. Today, lionfish have spread across the Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico, and up the U.S. East Coast, devouring native reef fish faster than local ecosystems can recover. A single aquarium release turned into one of the most destructive marine invasions on record. But if a beautiful fish with visible spines can cause that much damage, what happens when the danger is something you can't even see coming? Down in the pitch-black depths of the ocean, past the point where sunlight ever reaches, something drifts through the dark with a glowing lure dangling in front of its teeth. This is the anglerfish, and everything about how it survives down there is stranger than fiction. Food is so scarce in the deep sea that finding a mate is almost as hard as finding a meal. So evolution came up with something extreme. In many anglerfish species, the male is tiny, sometimes just a fraction of the size of the female, and his entire life has one purpose. When he finally finds a female in the endless dark, he bites into her body and never lets go. Over time, his body actually fuses with hers. His skin merges with her skin, his blood vessels connect to her bloodstream, and his organs, his eyes, his fins, even most of his internal organs, slowly break down and disappear, until he's nothing but a permanent lump attached to her side, existing only to supply sperm whenever she's ready to spawn. Scientists call it sexual parasitism, and a single female anglerfish can carry several of these former males fused to her body at once. It's one of the strangest reproductive strategies in the entire animal kingdom. No fight, no venom, just total physical surrender. But the next fish on this list takes something meant to be beautiful, turns it into one of the most delicious meals on Earth, and one of the deadliest at first glance. The pufferfish looks almost comical, round, slow, and famous for inflating into a spiky ball when it feels threatened. In Japan, it goes by a different name, fugu, and fugu isn't just food. It's a delicacy so prized that people pay hundreds of dollars for a single meal of it. Here's the part that isn't funny at all. Pufferfish carry tetrodotoxin, one of the most lethal poisons found in nature, concentrated mainly in the liver, ovaries, and skin. There is no antidote. The toxin is roughly 1/200 times more powerful than cyanide, and it works by shutting down the nerves that control breathing and movement, meaning a victim can stay fully conscious, unable to move a single muscle, while their body slowly shuts down. In the hands of a licensed fugu chef, none of this matters. In Japan, preparing fugu legally requires years of apprenticeship, rigorous training, and a government exam. A licensed chef can remove every toxic part and leave behind a dish so safe and so refined that it's considered one of the highest honors in Japanese cuisine. In the hands of anyone else, it becomes a death sentence. On January 16, 1975, one of Japan's most celebrated kabuki actors, Bando Mitsugoro VIII, sat down at a restaurant in Kyoto and insisted on eating 4 servings of fugu liver. the single most toxic part of the fish, and a part that had already been banned from sale for its danger. He claimed his experience made him immune. 7 hours later, after his body was overtaken by paralysis and convulsions, he was dead. He was a living national treasure of Japan, and even he couldn't survive 4 bites of the wrong cut. Fugu poisoning cases are still reported nearly every year in Japan, mostly from amateur fishermen and home cooks who try to prepare a catch themselves. Some survive with emergency treatment if they reach a hospital in time. Some don't get the chance. The very same fish, served by 2 different hands, can either be the meal of a lifetime or the last meal of your life. So there you have it. 6 fish that prove looks can be dangerously misleading. From a Disney famous fish ruled by forced sex changes, to a poison so exact that survival depends entirely on whose hands are holding the knife. Which of these 6 surprised you the most? Was it the clownfish or the puffer fish at the very end? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. If this video changed the way you look at fish forever, hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel grow. And if you want more stories like this, subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next one.